So Changeling is the new Clint Eastwood movie.
It's an Angelina Jolie thing.
An Angelina Jolie movie. And no, it's a Clint Eastwood movie. It's the story, it's an extraordinary story. From the 1920s, a mother whose son is abducted. The police force are under terrible pressure to get results because they're falling apart. And they say, "We found your son." And they turn up with this kid. And she says, "That's not my son." And they say, "Yes, it is."
How does it feel to have your son home, Mrs. Collins? What do you think when you saw him for the first time?
It's hard to explain.
She was shocked at first. She didn't recognize the boy, which is perfectly natural. He's been through quite an ordeal. How you feeling, son? That it feels great to be home.
Yeah, it's great.
Los Angeles Police Department is thankful for all the hard work done by the DeKalb County Sheriff's Department in making this joyful reunion possible. The LAPD is dedicated to serving the public at all times.
Can we get a photo with mother and son, Captain? Absolutely. There we are.
Now, I think the crucial thing to say this, when I first saw this, I saw it in Cannes. At the beginning of the film, it didn't say anything, didn't say based on a true story or a true story. The film just started. And I wasn't familiar with this story. I mean, other people may be, but I wasn't. And watching the movie, I thought it was just, it's classic Clint Eastwood. He's a very unfussy director. He does things in a really efficient, nuts and bolts way. I mean, the joy of his filmmaking is that he learnt his trade working in exploitation films, in which he had to get 3 scenes shot a day. And there is just there's no slack. There's no loose fat, and it just the thing moves on. But I thought, blimey, it's like it starts out as this kind of film, and then it turns into that kind of film. And I think one person said that it starts out being a kind of LA confidential film, and then it becomes Silence of the Lambs. It's an extraordinary and frankly harrowing story. And I thought the problem that I have with this is, efficient and terrifically made as it is, the story is just, it's unbelievable. Of course, it turns out the story is almost entirely true. There are certain dramatic licenses taken, although the actual story, if anything, is even weirder and even stranger and even creepier.
The version I saw did have...
I'd say yes, and now since Cannes, it now does. And I think it was one of the things...
Based on a true story.
Based on a true story. And of course, I interviewed Angelina Jolie, and she said... that
I've done that. We've all done that.
I know, thank you. I was throwing it away, but thanks for bringing it up. Was that she said that what he wanted to say at the beginning was a true story. That's it. Not based on just a true story. I think it's important to know going in that it's true, because what happens in the film is so extraordinary, is so frankly unbelievable, that only by knowing that it's grounded very firmly in reality and that the story has been very well researched, there is a certain, as I said, amount of dramatic invention, but I think within the circumstances of the true story, it's all forgivable entirely. So, knowing that it's a true story, here's the things that you need to know about it. Jolie's performance, I think it's terrific. I think she's really good. I still think Mighty Heart is the best work she's ever done, and she's clearly a very accomplished actress. She happens to have this other, area of her career in which she does Wanted, the Timur Bekmambetov movies, and Tomb Raider and all that nonsense and fluff, which I could literally live without. And I just
the womb of death.
That's right.
Beware the womb of death.
I
can do
it
that.
It really is, isn't it? It really is.
Now, the womb of death. I can't do it normally.
No.
This week, I'm there. Beware. The force is strong with this one.
Have you turned it?
CNN. I'm James Earl Jones.
James
now.
Earl Jones, fine, okay, brilliant. Anyway,
so where were we?
So she's really, really good. Actually, all the supporting cast, are very solid as well. The design is terrific. I mean, you really do think that the period is wonderfully evoked, to the point that you stop looking at the scenery. You stop thinking, because actually, when people talk about films being beautifully art directed, it tends to be, if the art direction is in your face, you sort of notice it. But if it isn't, if it works, you kind of don't notice it. It's always very difficult. But in the case of Changeling, I didn't end up looking at the setting, which I think is an indication that it was doing the job really well. The real hero of the story is Clint Eastwood. There are very few directors who could put a film together in that way. I keep using this word unfussy, but that's what he is. He literally, it's like he's got to focus on the story, he's got to focus on the narrative, he's got to focus on what needs to be done between this scene, and he just does it. And there's something in the way in which he directs that makes you look at everything that's happening at the moment with the Bayification of modern cinema, and you're just realising how vacuous it all is, realising how completely empty-headed and spectacular cinema has become. Now, look, I like trash as much as the next man. But when you look at something like Changeling, you just think what's really great about it isn't that it's portentous and that it feels like it's incredibly important, as I think in the case of Body of Lies, but that it's so understated about what's unbelievably, torturous proceedings. Now, it is a tough film. It's only a 15 Civic, but it is tough. And it's fairly lengthy. It takes its time telling its story, although it really, really needs to. I think it's extremely likely that Jolie will be nominated. I think she may even have a chance of winning the Oscar, or maybe a BAFTA or something. But I think the reason to go and see it in the end is because it's a great Clint Eastwood movie, and it reminds you that when he did things like Unforgiven, he'd learnt his trade on the ground. And once again, it's demonstration. People who learn their trade in exploitation cinema understand how to do this stuff properly.
One other thing to say, John Malkovich is great.
Yeah, no, he is, and he's not doing a mad John Malkovich performance, which he has fallen into quite a lot.
I mean, he plays a preacher who's got a radio show, and he kind of speaks out against police corruption. But it's a really interesting performance.
It is good because it's very well nuanced. Because when you first meet his character, he seems incredibly creepy and incredibly strange and incredibly threatening. But actually, that does change during the course of the film. And of course, I would say this: I think Jolie's performance is really good because she's not just bouncing off the walls, which actually the story would allow you to do. An awful lot of it is very, very internalized. But I think that comes down again to film is a director's medium. Say what you like about it. Film is a director's medium. Directors get performances out of actors, and every good screen actor understands that it's down to who's behind the camera.
But it is worth underlining, you have said it's worth underlining with red pen and then circling it with Tipp-Ex. It's a tough watch.
Oh, it is.
Particularly the first hour and a half, you're thinking, blimey, come on.
Well, you say particularly the first hour and a half. I thought the last hour of it, in which it goes off into territory which is closer to
the first 2.5 hours.
The whole film. No,
it's all, from start to finish.
It's tough. It is
There's
a tough
a lot of Shawshank
movie.
before the redemption. That's what we have to say.
You see, the thing is, I've started using that phrase now. I know it's your phrase, but I'm fed up of telling everybody to use it. Okay.